Yo, what up? Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be talking about space and shit. More specifically, the custom Hasselblad and Kodak equipment that the Apollo astronauts used. So basically, it's a what's in my camera bag video, except astronaut edition. I've been researching the crap out of this topic for a long time now instead of going outside. So I'm going to dump all this information on you so I can finally sleep tonight. I find this kind of stuff pretty interesting, so maybe there's someone out there that does as well. So, this all started when the Soviets were like, we're going to outer space, and eventually the moon. And the United States got jealous and was like, fuck off, we're going to get that cheddar first. Thus, NASA was born, and the Apollo missions were set in motion a decade later. So in the days of pre-production leading up to the early Apollo missions, NASA hit up Hasselblad and was like, yo pimps, what's Gucci? You guys reverse engineered the shit out of an Air Force camera back in the day. We're thinking of posting up on the moon now, as well as other dope stuff, but we want to do it in style. Want to make us a space camera? And Hasselblad was like, that sounds lit AF fam, except they probably said it in Swedish. You might have heard of Hasselblad before. In fact, you may know them as the cameras I desperately want, but can't afford. They've actually been around for quite a while and have managed to maintain their status as one of the most proficient camera manufacturers in the galaxy. Even to this day, their medium format mirrorless cameras range from $4,000 to $50,000, or 952,000 pesos. One obstacle Hasselblad would have to overcome is the fact that they could not use conventional lubricants for the gears inside the camera, because the oil would dissolve in the vacuum of space. I couldn't find any information about their workaround for that, so I guess it's just a Hasselblad/NASA secret, tucked away in a folder hidden away from the public. Probably next to the folder about aliens. On Apollo 11, they brought 4 Hasselblad cameras on the mission. 3 of those 4 were brought down to the lunar surface. The one left behind, on the command module with Michael Collins, was battery-powered, automatically winding the film and cocking the shutter. It was equipped with an 80mm 2.8 lens as well as a 250mm f/5.6. When the lunar lander set down on the moon for the first time, the top NASA scientists, as well as the rest of the world, were devastated to learn that the moon isn't actually made of cheddar. 2 of the 3 Hasselblads brought down to the lunar surface never left the lander and were designed solely to shoot from the interior. They were that sexy Hasselblad black that we all know and love, and they are equipped with a super wide 38mm lens. The final Hasselblad, which was the data camera, and was probably the coolest of them all, was designed for the lunar surface. It was outfitted with a sleek silver finish to prevent drastic temperature changes on the surface of the moon. It was shot with a 60mm f/5.6 lens and also had a polarizer to reduce reflections. You can see it being used here. To prevent the astronauts from taking selfies instead of working, NASA fashioned the camera to a rig on the chest of the spacesuit. With the data camera, the astronauts had to be trained on what exposure settings to use depending on if the subject was in the sun or the shadow. The shutter speed was locked at 1/250th of a second through a mechanical leaf shutter in the lens. To ensure the focus being somewhat manageable, the team relied on scale focusing, using a higher f-stop paired with a wide-angle 60mm lens, creating a large zone of focus. You may be wondering if the astronauts were overly artsy in a lot of their shots because they decided to go with Dutch angles. Actually, these cameras didn't have viewfinders, so it was really just a aim and hope for the best kind of situation. Buzz Aldrin appears in more photos than Neil Armstrong because Aldrin believed Armstrong was the better photographer. You're damn right, said Armstrong, reportedly wearing a beret and smoking a cig. These Hasselblad cameras were loosely designed off of the Hasselblad 500 EL, and the lenses used on Apollo 11 were later replicated and sold to the general public. The backs, or magazines, which held the film, were detachable and fully automated. After 21.5 hours on the lunar surface, it was time to leave. The astronauts were instructed to leave the data camera and accompanying lens on the moon to reduce weight for liftoff, taking only the magazines with them. So I guess what I'm saying is, with the recent spike in film camera prices, there are 12 free Hasselblads sitting up on the moon right now if anyone's interested. So for the Apollo missions, NASA hit up Kodak and was like, we're tired of 35mm film. We're going to the moon, bitch. We need something twice as good. So Kodak was like, twice as good, you say? So yeah, they produced a film that was literally twice the size of 35mm. Furthermore, Kodak actually designed some special high-end film for the Apollo missions, building off the formula for ektachrome. The film was never commercially available, and the Krusty Krab, Kodak, secret ingredient was never revealed. But who knows, we just saw the triumphant return of ektachrome in 2018. So maybe someday we'll see the release of moon ektachrome, or moon chrome. Yeah, that'd be dope. Kodak, we're waiting. Brought on board with the astronauts were two types of special ektachrome, Kodak SO368 and Kodak SO168. The main difference between them was a haze filter pre-applied to the film instead of in front of the lens. Kodak SO368 was rated at an ASA of 64 and was designed for lunar surface photography. There were actually two types of 168. One was 160 ASA and the other was 1000 ASA. 168 was designed for surface and interior photography in lower light situations. They took several pre-flight shots to color calibrate the photos to be accurate to the moon's color when developing. They truly wanted those sweet, sweet ektachrome tones. Ektatones. But a solid adventure photo series isn't complete without some dank-ass black and white photos, thought the president of NASA. Probably. So Kodak produced a special formula of one of their black and white emulsions, Panatomic X. Panatomic X was an extremely fine-grained black and white film designed for aircraft and vehicle photography. The Panatomic X used on Apollo 11 was reportedly rated at 80 ASA. It was available to the public at 32 ASA. So apparently Kodak just made a slightly more light-sensitive version of that film for Apollo. Panatomic X can still be purchased today as an expired film. Every roll of Kodak film was also designed to be thinner to allow for more shots per roll. All in all, between Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins, 9 magazines of film were exposed, resulting in 1,407 photos. 550 of them were color, and 857 of them were black and white. And that's that. I thought the whole connection between the moon and film was super interesting because I never really knew a whole lot about it. Anyway, I often lay awake at night thinking about those ice-cold Hasselblad bodies so alone up there on the moon. And now you will too. Peace.